Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well.
Hey, it says there's an error on my app. I don't know if is this so.
Uh,
I guess you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I think you just have to cancel it or something. I got the same thing this morning, but
Okay, yeah, cool.
the deal. How's
Good
it
to see
going?
you.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
How was your camping?
Oh man, it was so good. I mean, just awesome. It was just cool because I was outside, but then
Yeah.
just seeing that actual program, like it's that outdoor education part's a big part of the school, and that was my first time seeing
Okay.
it. And it gets like more complex each year, so it was really inspiring. It was awesome.
Huh. So that was a school thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh wow.
So like every year, so our school is Chadwick International, and I don't know if you said we're sponsored. I don't know how you would say it, but like the mother school is Chadwick Private School in California,
Okay.
and whoever the Chadwick lady was who started the school, outdoor education was like a huge thing for her. So it's always been part of the program, and if you want to be part of the Chadwick thing, you have to do outdoor ed. And I say that because there's a lot of, I mean, most kids would, especially here, would like opt out of it if they had the choice, but it's obligatory. They have no choice. So,
Right.
so by the time they get to grade 8, it's like, it's a full week in the outdoors with like a 50-pound bag, hiking up mountains, getting water out of the creek and putting like iodine tablets in it, cooking over a little stove. Yeah, it's like total outdoor stuff and moving every day, like usually like 3 kilometers hiking, and then
Oh wow.
setting up camp. And they reflect throughout the whole time. They have various things they have to do each day. One day they have to do like a solo, which is where they have to just stay alone and be quiet out in the woods for a few hours. And it gets longer each year. Really cool.
Right.
Is my echo too
That's
much in this
awesome.
room? Can you hear me well?
No, yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I saw it was a new area. You gotta go in there.
Somebody's cooking in the kitchen.
Ah, something good, I bet.
I hope so, yeah. Always is.
That's awesome. That's cool that that's a thing there.
Man.
So like, what's the as a senior, what's the expectation?
So
You know?
just to kind of go I know a little bit, like to kind of go through the progression. In grade 5 and 6, and I'm not sure what grade 5 is, it's really basic. And then grade 6 and 7, they just go do a base camp. So like the entire grade level, we usually have like 80 kids. It's fairly small, like 80 kids per grade level. So they just go to a base camp and camp in tents in a place that's got like an outdoor bath, like, kind of like a campground where there's a bathroom and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then grade 8, it gets more intense. Like it's an actual trek. Like they're moving every day and they sleep out in the woods. They have to set up tents every day. They have to learn to read a topographical map and a compass. And every day the roles change. Like there's a recorder every day who has to like do some journal entry. It can be a picture, a piece of writing or whatever. Then there's 2 leaders. They're the ones who read the map and kind of give the logistics of how much time it's going to take and how much we're climbing, what the flat spots are going to be. There's 2 cooks and there's 2 cleaners, and they teach them the whole protocol of like leave no trace. Yeah, it's just super cool. They learn, there's for each group, there's usually about 12 kids per group plus a teacher.
Mhm.
And then there's 2 guys, and you're not with the whole grade level. It's small groups. We don't really see each other. So
nice.
then you have 2 guides, a guy and a girl for each group, and they're like legit people, like really good at what they do, like professional climbers. And in my case, it was a professional climber and a professional, like, well, I say professional climber, I just mean like she's a climbing instructor. We'll say that. And he's like a boating instructor, like kayaking and canoeing and stuff like that. And they're just really great with the kids too. Like had great conversations with them. That was really inspiring. So then they get to like grade 9 and 10, and they do like a full week of kayaking where they actually go down a river and they sleep on the side of the river, and all their gear has to be with them. And like everything that you take, like all your garbage, you try to minimize all that, because even if you poop, you're either wiping with leaves or you have like a bag that you're putting your toilet paper in, and that's going right back in your backpack, and it's coming out of the woods with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And our kids
Fantastic.
were, just totally sheltered. Like I had no, like, it's kind of like being a coach in the sense that you see a whole nother side of the kids. I had no idea how sheltered they were. But to kind of finish the whole thing for you, then like grade 11, grade 11 becomes, it's like, I think they kind of do the same thing as grade 9 and 10. It's just, again, a river trip where they're like kayaking and they pack all their gear in with them, and it's 5 days. And then the seniors always go to Australia. And like, so the tasks become more difficult. Like they're so, like in grade 8, the solo time is just like 2 hours out in the woods. And by the time they're in grade 12, it's like a full day and a full night by themselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Do like you said, like the kids didn't want to do it, like, or they would choose to opt out if they could.
Yeah.
Is that the case for like the older ones too? Like once they experience a lot of it, or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'd be really interested in that.
Me too, actually, since you posed that question, because our kids were just like, I was totally surprised, like terrified of bugs. We just got a small amount of water, to last us out in the middle, and they're like washing their hands constantly, and it's like, you cannot be washing your hands, like we have no water. Totally don't understand. Yeah. Trying to, like, none of them wanted to, like, some of them would poop in the woods, and then because there's one night when our camping goes back to like towards the base camp, because we have like a whole logistics team who's like a base camp for us in case something goes wrong or whatever. So there's one night where you actually get to go to like a campground, because you're like trekking through this national park. So we go through the base camp one night, and there's an actual bathroom. So so many kids were just trying not to poop for like 2 or 3 days, so they could make it to the bathroom. And it rained a bit. Like they're just totally soft. Like I couldn't believe it. Like I had no clue.
And that's called, you said that's called Chatwick? Is that
Chadwick? Yeah.
Chadwick. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what a visionary woman.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And apparently I don't know the details, but what I've been told is that the program in California is way more intense. Like it's it's a stronger outdoor element.
Yeah. That's super cool.
That goes on my list of dream school things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because that would be awesome to do with the kids here too.
Oh man, how crucial with those kids.
Yes.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that would be revolutionary in Columbia, man. Totally.
Yes. I think they would. I would imagine they'd be softer, but I don't know.
Oh, and I'm sure you assume this, but like obviously no cell phones for 5 days.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. And the parents,
that's awesome.
And the parents have to accept that too. Like that's another thing. Like the school has a bit of a backbone, so like the parents want to. They want to have the school provides like one iPhone for the instructors.
Okay. Right.
And some of the parents are like, we need that number, and they're like, well, tough luck, because you're not getting it. Like you're not going to be calling these instructors and texting them like every day. You want to know this and that.
Yeah. How's my little boy doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that the school then, it's nice when you have small, like your principles, when it's not like too grandiose, when you have like these kind of, this is what we do, and if you don't like it, find another school. We wish you all the luck, best of luck, kind of thing. I think that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, totally.
So that's awesome. What was the best part of it for you?
All right, I've got 2 things for you. Okay. All right. So one day, because as the teacher, we're just kind of there for moral support, because we know the kids really well. Because the instructors are totally professional. Like I was really impressed how good they are with kids and how professional they are.
Okay.
Because they're radical people. Like my instructors, they do this for a few months, and then after this, the guy's going to go to Alaska, and he works there for a few months doing like boat trips, and then he takes the fall off to travel, and then he goes to Montana to do ski stuff. So I mean, it's just they're really living on the edge like that, like really dedicated to that lifestyle, kind of like hippie almost, I guess. So the point being, they're obviously as far as the outdoor knowledge goes, they're really good, but they actually have teaching knowledge. Like I heard them saying things about difference between like kinesthetic learners and even though that stuff might not be legit, just the fact that they have that,
they're aware of it.
Exactly. So I was impressed, and they're really patient with the kids. Like I was just really impressed. So anyway, with that being said, the point is, in the afternoons after we have track, we usually get up really early in the morning, and then we do our several kilometers hiking, and we set up camp again. Sometimes I just have some free time to go explore, So I would do that, obviously. And I went off in the woods one day, and I just, being a kid, like I always was, out in the woods by myself, I saw some rocks, like a big cliff. I was like, oh, I'm going to go check that out. And I just kept going. And I found this perfect little rock that kind of overlooked the valley, and it was just like a little meditation rock, So I made my way back to camp.
That's awesome.
Connor, who was the guy, I was like, yeah, if you want to take them down, I saw a cool little place. So we took the kids, and there's 12 of them in a group. 2 of them were cooking. It was already supper time, so they were cooking dinner. And so we took 10 kids, and they were just so loud. They're adolescents.
Right.
Just like, just like so loud and just so uncoordinated, trying to walk on kind of like a steep slope and climbing up a hill. And we finally get to this place. And we were sitting there, and I was like, man, this is so different than when I was here. Because when I was there, I was just, it was so quiet, And so the guy, Connor, he was like, all right, guys, I got a challenge for you. We're going to stay quiet for 3 minutes.
Ooh.
And so, they were very compliant. They're not bad kids at all.
Yeah.
And so they were.
No.
And probably a minute into it, it was just so powerful to me, because all of a sudden I knew that they would realize how loud they are. Because all of a sudden you can hear the birds, and you can hear the wind.
Right.
And it's just like you could feel the power of nature, basically, And I looked over as this was going on, and I could see girls like, a girl, she was like checking her watch. She was like totally uncomfortable to just be quiet for even a minute, much less 3 minutes,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so after the 3 minutes was up, I was, we just kind of asked them some questions, and that moment was just very powerful to me, because I asked them, do y'all realize how loud we as humans are? Like, we're totally unconscious, and we just disturb everything,
Everything. Yes.
And they did realize it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that stood out to me at the very end, there's a protocol every night. We always sit in a circle and have dinner together, and we have a reflection. And so we were doing the reflection over the entire trip, and it was incredible to see how much the kids had pouted and kind of whined throughout the entire trip. And to see them be grateful at the end. They had to pick a word that described how they felt. And, some of them that stood out, like one kid said, grateful, I'm just so grateful for my bed and my shower and unlimited water and
toilet paper.
Yeah, things that they just totally, that everybody, not just them, every urbanized human probably takes for granted.
Oh, that's awesome.
So to see that growth and to see them get tougher, actually, like, the last day was a good, strong hike. It was uphill, and they got stronger every day. Like, they're privileged kids, and they're never put in a position to truly. That was another thing that stood out to me. I was like, wow, their athletic teams must not be like anything like what I grew up with, because they would realize they would have struggled like this at some point before.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired, man. Like, I was like, man, I want to get involved with this program. I want to learn, like, start to participate and have a greater hand in organizing it and all that. Yeah,
and like really. That's a once a year thing there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that would be just so powerful to do more than that, I would imagine.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah,
once per semester at least.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, as I explained to you earlier, like the kayaking they did was just super basic, just like getting in the lake
Right.
with him and like learning maneuvers, because next year they got to go down a river. Like it's going to be more, and the climbing was very basic. They learned how to like belay and, just kind of get up a rock, and it gets more difficult each year.
Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I'm inspired just sitting here. The one thing I was thinking about is like that's the cool thing about just the lives we have here with our kids, because we went on because we get to do hikes over at the finca, and my sweet little 3.5-year-old daughter, we did this. It's a river hike. It's through the river, and it's probably it takes forever, but it's because they're so little. So I really don't know how far it is. Probably like a kilometer or something. But she did the whole thing on her own. She walked the entire time in the river, and we were super proud of her. With her, and she had a little stuffed animal that she was taking with her too. She's walking with her.
That's awesome.
And she dropped that in the river a couple of times. I had to save it. But one time I almost didn't. So that would have been a bad day. But it was super cool. So it's just I always just reflect on how blessed we are with them and just everything that they're able to do that most kids just don't even. I mean, especially if you want to say like privileged kids, so privileged kids don't really get to do that specifically that much of the time, I don't think.
Yeah. Could you do something like that with the kids in Colombia, you think, or do you think there would be so much parental backlash?
Well, now it's to do a field trip is super tough. And then like actually we were told that we can't do any more end of year finca trips. So
well, I'm not even familiar with that. Did you do that in elementary before, or what?
We used to do every grade level at the end of the year would maybe take the kids to a finca for like an end of year celebration, or like go to a club like Club Campestre or something like that.
Okay.
But they banned those, so we can't do those anymore.
Why? What's the logic?
I think it has to be like specifically educational, and then so I could probably get around that with the finca stuff. Maybe I will actually. I'll actually look into it, but it takes a month to do the paperwork. Like you have to have a paramedic that goes with you, and then like there has to be a bunch of different stuff. The government actually made all these changes to the laws, I think. So.
Okay.
But actually, that's a good idea. I might just do that then. I'll look into that.
Yeah. Colombia is famous for its like absurd amount of red tape. I've been told it's like so many different laws.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call them frictionists. They like friction because I think friction brings jobs. The more friction you have, the more jobs you have.
Yeah.
Maybe the more corruption you can. I mean, if you want to take that side of this.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there, but I was thinking the same thing. Like so many laws for a country that probably doesn't obey a large majority of them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was interesting is I don't know if it's interesting or not, but in our little town, they built this road, and there's no purpose for the road. Really, it's just it serves no purpose. It's not really a traffic flow thing or anything, and it was over this beautiful green flat prairie kind of field. I mean, it's a very short road, and it curves. It like does like 4 curves. It's like this S road. And I was just like, oh man, they can't even build a straight road. Like that was my thought. My thought was just like, they can't do it. It's like no linear. They can't do linear stuff. They just can't do it. But then my father-in-law is like, oh, they probably did that so they could bleed more money out of the town.
Got to use that
pavement and more time. And that didn't even occur to me. I was like, oh, okay. Makes more sense, I guess. He's like, they'll probably say something about the river or something, but it's just because they wanted more money. So, yeah. But it's a nice road. It's it's 2 lanes, if you can believe it. In Colombia, it's 2 lanes going one way. Like they did not plan that. But at some point at the end, they were just like, yeah, let's just make it one way. I don't think there's a 2-lane one-way road in Colombia. Like I don't think that's a thing. Maybe Las Palmas, maybe the freeway.
Yeah.
A side road. There is no side road that size in this country.
Oh man.
So, yeah. And then what's that?
No, I was just making conversation. Go ahead, tell me.
Oh no, I didn't hear. I know. I was curious how your master's stuff is going. Are you like ending?
Yeah, like this week everything's due.
Ooh. So what's your project?
The effects of project-based learning on student motivation. Like we kind of want, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been like I'm at the end of a PBL unit right now, kind of at the end. I mean, it was really, every time I do something for the first time, it's always not great, but I'm okay with that. Like I totally knew that was going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm happy with it.
It's in a hot mess.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, good.
I mean, I'm happy considering, like, I don't know if I'm working with the design teacher, like in this like IB curriculum.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how their protocols are going to turn out. Like, I don't know, maybe I have high expectations, but I'm a realist at the same time in some contexts. And like, I was like, all right, well, if out of 80 kids, I get like, I don't know, a few like good prototypes.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Okay. Like, you know, so I don't know what kind of prototypes they're going to make, but I know their knowledge is really good because I just like, he's assessing the prototype building and I'm assessing the knowledge base, like from a social studies perspective. And I'm impressed with what they know. I mean, they at least, they've at least added a lot of, it's kind of like lower level knowledge, but nonetheless, the reason I put value on it is because it's about sustainability and it's about topics that are going to impact the future. So like if you're going to have rote memorization about something or just kind of just researching and memorizing stuff, it's a good thing to have in your head at least. Like they're more aware now. But as I was on that outdoor ed trip, like I you know, the way I assessed them was I had like a sit down interview with them and I had a rubric obviously. But I just was like really digging in and seeing like, what do you know and how deeply do you know it? Because my criteria or my standard says it's very open. It says they have to have in this particular, like we have 4 criterion in social studies. And one of them is knowing and understanding. And like the 2 like sub parts or, you know, I always forget the jargon, whatever, benchmarks or whatever you call them. One is to simply use vocabulary in context. And the other one is like using descriptions, explanations, and examples and how deeply and how like developed those descriptions, explanations, and examples are. So I made them pick their own key terms. I'm like, all right, you chose this topic and you created your own research question. So now you've been researching for like 3 or 4 weeks. You tell me, you should know more than I know about the topic. In the beginning, I knew. Right. So you pick what are the key terms, and they should be things that I don't really know. Like if you really have a deep understanding, they should be things that are so specific to your topic that you kind of got to tell me about it. So that part, like when I interviewed, like I gave them some formative feedback, and then the summative was like they're really intense interviews. Like I didn't want it to be that long, to be honest with you, but they all ended up being like 15 or 20 minutes, and just because of, you know, like we're in Korea, so they take it really seriously. Like they, you know, they study more than you know, the average student in the U.S. probably would. Okay. And it's just me. Like they have I'm just working with this guy. Like in the design cycle, they have to have a design brief, which says kind of what they're going to do. And so within that design brief, I said, okay, well, you got to have these key terms. Like you've had a formative with me, and these key terms look good. Now they have to be in that design brief. So I just would read their brief, and then I would write down a bunch of questions based on what I read and based on their key terms, and then just kind of probe how much they know. And it's just a conversation, pretty much. You know? Awesome.
Yeah. That's really cool. And what are they making? You said they were iterating stuff. What are they?
Yeah, like Joey there at Columbus, Columbus. He's really good at PBL, man. Like, and so I met with him a few times, but I'm not as good as he is yet. So, you know, at Columbus, they're very much, at least on Joey's thing, they were like really specific about what they were going to make. All right, you're going to make something about renewable energy or whatever. Whereas when I was working with the design teacher here, he wanted it to be like super open-ended. So, you know, we just, as a class for a couple of weeks, talked about general problems with I would just say sustainability in general could be deforestation or water scarcity or whatever. And then within that great scope, they picked their topic and created a question. So with that being said, the thing they're going to make is totally specific to their topic.
Oh, awesome.
Right. And so what I'm trying to do now is, because I'm kind of winging it, to be honest with you, like I have a general idea, but so they're like, all right, well, I want to pull, like carbon dioxide is causing global warming, and I want to get carbon dioxide out of the air. I'm like, well, I don't know how you're going to build a prototype because we want them to have a testable prototype, right?
Okay, right, yeah.
But it can be a simulation, right?
Right, yeah.
So, like there's apparently some ideas of how you could pull carbon dioxide out of the air, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, just like I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I think some kid was talking about like pulling carbon dioxide and methane out of the air, and I was like, I don't know, well, maybe if you're going to simulate that, you could just do it in a very basic, because like this particular student I'm thinking about has like a tremendous, like he's like a little genius, like he can blow your mind telling you about it, right? But I don't know how he's actually going to make this thing. So I'm like, well, how can you make a thing that would demonstrate it? And then you can kind of, because they have to present it too, like you can fill in, you can tell them how it would work on the real scale, but maybe when you're demonstrating it, it's just using like ping pong balls or something like that and filtering it. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Who do they present it to? Just a class or a panel, or?
They're going to present it to high school kids.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So it'd probably be, and they're really nervous about it, which is what I wanted.
Yes, yeah.
But we as teachers are nervous about it too. So we also didn't want it to be super high stakes for us, where it's like, oh, you're going to present the parents and like the head of the school, because it might not be super great, and then we feel like idiots, you know. So you find a balance. And one thing, like the grade 6 students had to present to our grade 8 students, and it was kind of like this: the grade 8 students would come in, and it was like a gallery walk, and they would just ask questions. So I think we're going to set up something like that.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah. And they're nervous about, like, they don't want to present to high school kids. Like, they admire them, you know, and so it adds good stress. Like,
that's good.
Some stress is good.
But they're still wanting to do it in some way, or is it still they're just like, no, I have no interest in presenting this.
Oh, they wouldn't. They definitely would not present it if they had the choice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But because my research is due and I needed my data, we're still kind of doing it. But you know, my thing was just, I was comparing their performance just in a super basic way. I'm just going to compare grades from like a regular unit to this unit.
Right. Yeah.
Which was, you know, on a side note, it's kind of hard to do because I don't really give a traditional unit. I'm always doing something that's kind of project based nonetheless. But anyway, and their interest, like, so I just gave them like a Likert. Do you know what Likert scale is? Did you do that when you did your research? Yeah. So, and I haven't gone super deep with it. I just kind of glanced at it, but it did look like they enjoy, like, they seem to be a bit more challenged, and I think the question is like, do you think it's important? Like, do you think what you're learning is important? And that seems to at least a little bit has gone up. So
okay, that's super. So it's nice.
But they would not choose to present for sure. Like, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I guess that's probably just a normal thing because people don't like talking in front of people anyway, kind of thing. Death over speeches, right? Isn't that famous?
What have you been doing lately?
Let's see. Trying not to have, like, you know, existential crises or crises. Is that what it is? Sometimes I'm like, just in myself, and you know, because like yesterday was a good example. I was kind of sitting there and like the enormity of the job, kind of, and just like where we are in society and like what's happening with the kids and like just, you know, just all of that kind of hit me just as I was sitting there. It was pretty overwhelming. Like, I was actually getting fairly emotional just kind of sitting there. I was like, man, you know, this is tough. This is like, and I just have them for 180 days. And like, are they going to be okay as people? You know, that's kind of my worry, is just based on what, I mean, like I said, I think I said before, it's like they have all this access to our world and not the ability to process stuff. So like I had them looking for, we're doing a poetry unit, so they were looking for song lyrics. So I was trying to connect, you know, make it cool or whatever. And I'm like, you know, if you run into songs and looking at lyrics that, you know, that are not appropriate, you know, I just ask you to, you know, find a new song. You know, I trust you to do that. So, so I'm walking over, and this one kid's just writing down. I was like, no, you don't have to copy the lyrics, guys. It's just, this is about thinking about lyrics, you know, big ideas, all the stuff we're working with, poetry. And then he's like, he puts his hand over the screen. And I'm like, oh gosh, I was like, what's going on?
Reggaeton.
No, it was rap. It was American rap, and it was just chock full of just swear words and stuff. And like that, I mean, that's not a big deal. That's a very small thing, but just the fact that he didn't abandon it and look at something else. It's just all that stuff worries me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because it's really intense language, and then just like and just so anti-woman. Just so.
Yeah.
And they don't get it, and they're like, no, I just like the beat. And I'm like, yeah, but you're still listening and you're still understanding what they're saying on some level, and it's still making your views of women or of yourself, if you're a woman listening to that, just less. And it's just so sad. And you can't convince kids of anything. I think
Right.
They have to kind of figure that stuff out for themselves.
Just gotta. I mean, I agree with you, but you just gotta plant seeds, dude.
You do, yeah.
You do what you can, and
yeah. But then you just hope that those seeds are then cultivated later by other educators, Like I don't know. So sometimes that, sometimes it feels a little futile. You're like, well, if this isn't being addressed going forward ever, then will it do anything? Because the funny thing was this girl, she's like, can we listen to this song? And I'm like, what song? I mean, what are the lyrics? Because they like them, sometimes they get to listen to music during break time or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh, it's just about this. She's like, the guy, he's walking in the club and all the girls are checking him out. And I was like, well, are they looking at him because he treats women with respect and is kind towards them?
Of course.
And she's like, I don't know. I don't think so. And I was like, well, then no, you can't listen to it.
Of course they were. They were like, look at that guy.
He's such a gentleman. Look at that. It's so great. It's so great. Because that sells, man. And then so that was, but this thing I'm going to try. Because I started to read a book. It sounds like is your school, like, is it defined as a progressive education? Do you know? Or
I don't know.
Because I started reading a book about, I'm just in the very early stages of it anyway, but it's about the Park Day School in Oakland. I don't know if you've ever heard of that school before. Mm-hmm. But there's a guy that his first teaching experience was there, and then he started running it like 10 years later, and then I think he just passed away. He was about 60. He died of cancer, but it's kind of his 40-year journey at the school that he was there when it started and kind of was with it for that long. And it seemed like a pretty inspiring thing, just reading the first part of, like, just the first chapter or whatever. But he mentioned that, like, they thought they were doing all this new cool stuff, and just like, that they were really forward thinking and awesome. And then he started reading like John Dewey, and kind of some of the other early 20th century progressive educators. And it's all their stuff. It's like all of the stuff were like project-based learning. Like that was Dewey's idea. And there's like back in the early 1900s. And,
exactly.
But what happened was that progressive education was like huge, and it was very popular in the States. And it was all about like kids being, kids and natural and learning on their own pace, and like you're not conforming to anything. You're just like there and in the moment. And then like I think around World War II and the fear of communism and liberalism, like it all got put down. Like you're like, oh, they're a bunch of permissive, communists that are running this education, and it's poisoning our kids. And so progressivism just got wiped out almost completely, and it's now just in small pockets, like on the East and West Coast, I guess, and some in the Midwest. But that depressed me. that we were close, like if that, like just what a huge difference, like it would be, we can all say like, play hindsight 2020 or whatever, but I would imagine that would be an enormous difference in society if we would have went that route as a nation at that point, just in the 40s. I mean, just imagine what would have happened, kind of thing. Or it could be worse. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into the talk about like education in the U.S., it's daunting, isn't it? Like it's daunting, man. Yeah. Like, I mean, all the great stuff about the Nordic countries, I don't even know if you could do that stuff in the States. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the context is very different. Yeah.
Well, that's the subtitle of the book, because it's called Loving Learning, how progressive education could save American schools. So I think it's this guy's kind of treatise on how the states could do it, kind of thing, and that it is being done on some level in some schools. So I will continue reading it and keeping you posted about it. But something I like that's really bothering me in my class is because I have such diversity of interests and levels, and care and whatever. And so it's like, I'm like, why am I sitting them down as a group and teaching them one thing about one area of reading per se? So like right now we're doing poetry. It's like, why am I forcing all 22 kids to sit and listen to me for about 10 minutes talk about poetry and strategies to understand poetry? Like what is the purpose of that? Especially because I probably have about 5 kids who are interested in that, and then 17 who just don't care. And like, I'm trying to make them care, but like, isn't it easier for me on some level to be working with them on things that they care about, like naturally, and then helping them bridge those things to more and more rigorous things that are more and more, that they can explore more or something like that. So I've been thinking about this, and so what I'm going to do for our next unit is I'm going to let them design the unit like on their own. So I'm going to give them some structure. Like these are our standards. These are some learning progressions. Excuse me. Like when it comes to reading, like with the Lucy Calkins units, she's the kind of the guru of Readers and Writers Workshop that we do, and we follow their units of study. But she has these learning progressions for reading. So I'm going to have them pick like 4 of those different areas of learning when it comes to reading skills and strategies, and then 4 standards, and kind of mix those together to create their own unit and expectations of themselves for like the next 6 weeks. And then they can read any genre they want. And so I would not bring the whole group back for a mini lesson ever, unless they all needed it. Like if they all needed the same thing, then I would do that. But it'll be a lot of small group work, one-on-one stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that, to see how that works, and to see if that does kind of interest them more. Because I gave them, I was wanting to be a little action researchy about it. So I gave them kind of a Likert scale thing about workshop. And what was interesting is I asked them, are they engaged in the mini lesson? And I gave them a 1 through 10 scale, and every kid was over a 5, which I was totally shocked by. I was like, are you really? Super. I'm doing something well. So like everybody was over 5. So I was like, that's a huge win. And then the next question was, I'm engaged in my independent work. And that was spread out everywhere from 1 to 10, which tells me that, yes, they see what we're doing is important. They're interested in the moment when I'm teaching them, but then when they're trying to transfer it on their own, they just have no capabilities, because they might not be interested in the content, or they don't see themselves being able to do it or something. So I think if they get more control over it, then they'll be more likely to be, in the moment and working on stuff and seeing that they can do it, or wanting to, for that matter. So we'll see what happens.
Like, as you tell me that stuff, like some of these questions come to mind. Like one question I have is, if you're the only one doing that, what's going to be the effect? Like, in other words, are you, like, I think it's good. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm just wondering, like, if you're the only guy in 5 years of their education that's ever done that, and if they don't get that again, like, and I guess I'm saying, well, no, I think you should do it, but I'm just saying, like, for it to truly, because I think they've been conditioned to not even maybe even understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that it's just so foreign to them, probably, almost like, I don't know, this is probably not a great example, but did you ever see that show, The Wire?
The first couple seasons,
like there's this one moment where they like the police, they're not supposed to do this, but they basically give a zone where they could sell drugs for free.
Okay. Yeah.
And the guys in the streets were just like, what are you doing? This is not how it's supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to chase us and we're supposed to do this and play your role. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think what you're doing is really awesome. But I also am like, man, you would need a school community that's on board with that, and that it just happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just one person doing it.
Yeah. No, I think that's the case. And that's why I think about that as well. It's like, it's kind of what I was saying before. It's like if they don't experience some of this stuff before and then they don't experience it after, then like what is like, you hope something sticks, but like you said, it takes the whole community to really be behind something. But that being said, I think if I do it and then there's success with it, then I have some footage. I have the ability then to try and make change, I guess, and get other people interested in it and kind of start small from there. But that's always a thing. Like just changing culture is just so daunting. That was what in this Creating Innovators book, they were talking about, this college, I think it's called Owen. I can't remember, but it's a college in the States, and they force you to do kind of a master's in humanities and engineering. Like, you have to do both. It's a really kind of forward-thinking, almost maybe progressive education. And the first thing they tried to do was go to every major institution to just make their own college, like on the institution. Like as a department, like, you would go to, instead of, if you would sign up for the humanities engineering department kind of thing. And no one accepted them. Like no one, they went to every major university and everyone was like, no, we're not going to do that. Because it was such a change in their belief system, because it was all cross-disciplinary project-based stuff. And the colleges were like, no, we wouldn't, and we have no interest in that. So they just started their own, because sometimes they said, like, that's the easiest way to do change is just starting, like, going to this place where it doesn't exist, where that culture doesn't exist. So we'll see. I will at least feel good about what I'm doing, kind of thing, and be able to know that that's fitting with kind of who I'm turning into at this point, and to see how that goes, just to kind of test it out and everything. No,
I think absolutely. I wanted to ask you also, like, with the poetry thing, is that like part of the standards or what? Yeah,
we in the Common Core standards, there's like one word that says poetry in there, and so we've been pretty heavy. We've had some pretty heavy units of study, like World War II and then historical fiction, which is pretty, I think it's meaty stuff. And so we wanted something that was, a little quote unquote lighter or whatever, and they'd never seen poetry before, in a way that was studied. So we wanted to at least give it a try and introduce them to it and see just kind of how it went.
So, like, because with that being said, I was curious, like, assuming that you had to teach poetry, just like, because you were saying, I'm teaching this to like 20-something kids, and some of them are totally uninterested. What do you think should be, what is it called, compository or like?
Or compulsory? Is that compulsory?
Exactly. What do you think should be compulsory?
That's an excellent question, Mr. What do you force? I almost think that's tricky.
Like literacy, I guess.
Literacy, literacy is important. Writing is, reading, writing, math. But like the idea of you have to do, like, in a very general sense, I guess, all foundational knowledge. How's that? On some sense, you would want kids to walk away with. I mean, that would be like, what do you want them to be as humans as they leave, kind of thing, and trying to give them experiences in order for them to kind of be successful with that, I guess.
Yeah.
I wrote on the board. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking, like, because on one level, I totally agree with you about it should be like this natural thing that they're interested in, right?
Mhm.
But now after this outdoor ed experience, I'm like, no, you have to do it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They would never choose it. Like 99% of them would not choose to do it.
Mhm.
And maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but I don't know. I feel intuitively like, you have to do this. Like this is, sometimes the adult does know a bit more than you do. And this
Yeah,
is
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and you're right. There has to be some place for that. And I'm wondering if there's a separation between like, because that's such a natural experience, and that's humans in nature, and that's who we are. You know what I mean? Whereas all the stuff we're doing is like the academic stuff. That's stuff we've created. Do you know what I mean? So I almost
Like
see
what?
us, like math, and I guess science. We didn't create science; we just observe it. But math, we created math to understand the world. Like that. Like if we left the Earth, math would disappear with us, like because someone else could come in and change the system and do it differently. But with science, like physics is physics. Like you couldn't, like you would still observe the same stuff if you came in later, kind of thing. And then reading, writing, all that stuff is something that and obviously different cultures have it different ways, and like but that's interesting. Like I wonder if there's something. I don't know what I would compel kids to do. I don't, but that's interesting. Like I mean, empathy, like having real empathy, serving people. Like, I think I would compel kids to serve, like to serve the poor and to do things, for the world and to make the world a better place, kind of thing. I think I would compel that. Like you can do whatever you want, but and I think what it is like you want to put them in situations in which they feel compelled to learn and be better at something so that they can do something greater, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, maybe forcing some situations along the way that help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that would be really kind of interesting to kind of be in on and figure out.
What did you say you wrote on the board?
Oh, I wrote the only thing special and unique about us is our experiences. And I was like, we don't have to talk about it. You don't have to agree or disagree. It's just, because it was like right before lunch. I was like, just take away, whatever you want, kind of thing. And so they wanted to talk about it. And it was pretty interesting, because it's no fun arguing with 10-year-olds. There's no joy in it because they think they're right without any sort of proof or evidence, and it's hard for them to think abstractly. It's not their thing. It's just their brain usually is not capable of doing it. So a lot of them were like, no, that's not true because I have my thoughts. And I was like, well, your thoughts come from your experiences.
Yeah.
Like, no, but if I read books, then I was like, well, you read those books probably based on your experiences from before. And then there was this one girl was like, yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Mr. Lyon. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then the next day I came in, I was like, I wasn't wrong. Fingerprints as well. Fingerprints are something that's unique to us as well. So,
hey, did you? That reminds me. Did you see that article? I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
Yes, I did. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't know if I remember how to say it, but it was essentially saying like, I don't know, like the way I interpreted it was like your schematic framework is like a fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how did they say it. I'm not sure if I remember.
That seemed right. Like or the neural, whatever the connections are in your brain and everything.
Yeah. But that's created by experience, totally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
just so crazy. I don't know. So I don't. Who knows if they'll. But that's why, like, choosing what you do, like you talk about, like, why am I sitting watching TV right now when I could be doing something else? Like, that's why that stuff is so hugely important. It's like, especially when you can start controlling your own experiences, it's like, what do you choose to do? Like, and what that effect is happening. And then when you look at school and then you have these forced experiences, but everything is a forced experience. So like, what is that doing to people, and children and stuff? So I think all of the stuff is like uber fascinating and I don't know, it's so big. And that's like with the kids I was talking to my team, I get pretty dramatic sometimes. But I was like, it's like the other thing that worries me is that, society is opening up these like pits of hell, you know, for these kids to just fall into, and we're here like trying to like I'm just trying to drag them away from the edge, you know, of falling into the abyss. Like that's what I feel like on a daily basis, kind of like. But like that's what it is. It's like this, if they're experiencing this just crap over and over and over again, that's doing something to who they are as a person, kind of thing. So
like the force, like when you say the force experience, like you mean like school in general, like in other words, you have to go to this, like you have to, I don't know, you end up in grade 5 with Mr. Light, like that's a forced experience, or what do you mean?
Yeah, they have no choice over that. That's forced. And
like, what would be a pit of hell? Like, what would be one of those?
I think the internet, like for all its goodness, if you're not monitored, like, see, that's the thing. It's like I believe that children can be trusted and can be responsible. And I'll give you a quick anecdote on that. I've been working my ass off on trying to really build like community and responsibility, and letting them know I trust them and care about them, and like that they're able to do stuff, and And so every day we start with I put the clock on the board through the computer that we're just projected, and then we start the day with community circle. And they're just expected to be in their seats at 7:45, and I don't harass them or harangue them about anything. And if they come in late, they're just supposed to sit down quietly and join the group. And those are the expectations. It's been every day, and like it's been super good. So Friday morning, I left the car lights on, and found out at around 7:40. So I was like, oh crap, I gotta go and try and get it and get back in time. Mm-hmm. And I was late. It was like 7:45 and 30 seconds. And like normally they would have given me shit about it. They would have been like, they didn't say anything. I sat down, and they had already begun talking, like they were going over the schedule and like doing stuff. And so I was so super proud of them. So like that stuff is doable. Like you can trust them. But then on the other hand, it's like if I'm on my computer and I've built these habits, right, of just being distracted or looking at God knows what, because I've caught a kid typing in like Star Wars XXX, like looking at Star Wars pornography, if you will, at school. At school. So like in my class. Wow. So it's just like, so they have this habits. You know, it's not the first time that the guy's done it, obviously. You know, but to feel like you could just do that in a class at school and have no real filter for that, it's just like, it's super troubling. And so it's like, I want to be able to trust them, but then if I'm doubting them, does that affect them in some way that makes them do this? Do you know what I mean? And is it just this cycle of they're proving to me that they can't be trusted on devices because I, on some level, don't think they can be, you know what I mean? So it's a super weird thing. And being teachers, like, you're pretty good with body language. So you're looking at kids and you're like, God, I just don't think they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, based on their body language. And then you walk over to look at their screen, which is just an act of saying, I don't trust you. So it's this huge, I've been grappling with this all year kind of thing. I don't know. Do you ever, are you on Google Chrome at all, or on your web browser, and you have like extensions? Have you ever messed around with extensions, like on your browser?
I'm not sure. What would be one?
Like I have one for screenshots. So I click a button and then I can drag my cursor around and take a screenshot, and it saves my Google Drive. And if you ever go to the Google Web Store, have you ever been there?
You're Chrome way more tech savvy than I am, though.
Well, there's a Chrome Web Store, and you can go and add a bunch of stuff to your browser. Yeah, and there's a lot of good educational stuff, really cool things that you can put. I have one kid who has like literally like 20 something things on his screen, and they all every few seconds do something, like start raining poop emojis or like Donald Trump's face, or they make a noise, or they do this, or like it just boots and boots and reboots, and it's so distracting. And I'm like, how the hell can you do anything? Like, how can you? I don't think he can. He's super. I don't. You know, he's just one of those kids where he's always needing to do something. And so I think that he's developed this habit of just constantly having information just thrown at him.
God,
it's all just, yeah.
I'm convinced now because, you know, at Columbus, it was essentially one-to-one school. I mean, not officially.
Yeah.
And now at the school I'm at, like everybody, there's never not a kid that doesn't have a Mac. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
I think we're wrong, period. I mean, I just think because the push was if we could just get a computer in every kid's hand, you know?
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you about like the distrust thing. But the thing that I tell the kids is I can't control it.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't. Like, I mean, I'm doing my master's work and every 15 minutes I'm taking an active pause. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
And I'm just being realistic. It's like my maturity came when I was able to get a TV out of my house. Like a million times my intuition told me, you got to get TV. You got to get rid of it. You're not going to become the person that you can become if it's in your house because you're not able to control it. You know, like wisdom begins with knowing yourself, right? And now I've got the internet, which is so awesome. And it's way more addictive. Like I can't, like, you know, and I just think we're wrong. Like like it is not realistic. It's like saying, yeah, here is pornography and guns and everything else. And you can just choose not to do it. And we're just going to leave it right here in front of you. And it's like, it's not real. Like it's not realistic. And I'm not saying that you can't utilize the internet on some level, but the idea of every kid having a device and that we're on it all day long, we're wrong. We made a mistake. And sometimes you got to go there to realize, I was wrong. And you say, I'm wrong. I was wrong about it. Like, so let's go this other direction.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Which is so weird for me to say because I've got on a journey of, I think I was the first one to do bring your own device at the school. And then I was talking to somebody, I was like, I would ban kids being allowed to bring their phones, like 6 through 12. I was like, because the amount of peace you would create on some level for them, like they'd be obviously outraged about that, like the kids. But just to give them a safe space to just kind of be disconnected from all that, like that, everything they have on that phone or the abilities they have and like the choices they have to make on a constant basis when it comes to their phone, like just saying, this is why we're doing it. You know, we're giving you a break, man. Like, you get to be a kid. You don't have to take a picture of yourself every time you're somewhere or take a picture of someone else and then have a decision. Do I post this embarrassing picture about them somewhere? Like, it's just, because of these things, like these kids are putting just some awful stuff happens. just awful.
Because, it's funny you say the cell phone thing, because I remember being in South Carolina in a high school, and I thought the school was so backwards because they tried to ban cell phones, and they did, but everybody had them. And I was like, you would be way better off bringing the cell phone into class and saying use it to research something. But I think life is about, life in general is about balance, but it's also about context. I mean, it just depends. Like, it just depends. And in the context that we're discussing, like, I, as an adult, feel, I come home and I'm like, what am I doing? I've been on a laptop all day, and here I am on my laptop again. Yeah. And it's obviously extremely, like, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not against it. But I'm about balance, and I think we are out of balance.
For sure.
Because it's not just me, the kids too. Like, they are on the laptop all day at school because that's what we do in class. And and even like, think if you're like a paper-free classroom, how are you going to do that if you're not using a laptop or an iPad? Exactly. And then they go home, and in Korea they go to academy like Hagwons, so like they're on it all day long. Yeah. That's anti-human to me. I don't like it.
Well, that is the theory, that we are going to be evolving soon here into some sort of digital, like, components with, surgery, because you'll be able to do that stuff and add pieces to yourself.
Man. All right, let me go off the rails with you here for 1 second, okay?
All right.
Here's what I've been playing with a bit lately. We're so sophomoric. I don't know if this is – I'm telling you why I say sophomoric. I don't know that this is true, but I've been told this, and I like it, so I hope it's true. That the word sophomore means a wise fool.
Okay. I think I've heard that before.
Okay. So if that is true, I'm looking at human as like an animal species that has consciousness, but we don't even know how to manage it. Like we're like children standing up. And what does a child do? You have kids, when they stand up, they're stumbling all over the place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to use the word spiritual because I don't know what else you would call it. But with all of our great intelligence, we lack spiritual wisdom. So, and I'm saying this in context of like us evolving into something new. But I think if, and I'm reading Carl Jung too, so I'm like totally into like subconscious motivations and things like that right now. But I think that so much as what drives us is a fear of dying. Like we are totally like, if you peel back all the onion layers of what you're constantly avoiding and not looking at, it's hey, you're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
And we can't accept that. And I'm saying that in the like, why do we want to become cyborgs and all these things? Like, what's driving that? I think it's because we can't accept death. Like we want to become immortal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that's our destiny, or maybe it's just that we're wise fools and it's like you can't accept the death and it's going to drive you into something. Because every time we tinker with the system, something else gets out of balance. You know, like if we, like someone was telling me the other day, like with like this CRISPR thing, like we can like even if we don't become cyborgs, we can manipulate genes in such a way that we can literally become like superhuman species, right? Yeah. And eliminate disease. What's going to happen when you eliminate disease?
Right.
The population is going to be even crazier than it already is. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to colonize Mars.
Right. We can't accept that. We can't. We can't accept that the natural balance to it. And I could be totally wrong. I'm just sharing an idea with you. Is that death is how it stays in order, but we see that as inhumane and cruel and savage, and we're like, no, you're wrong. You, nature, or God, or universe, or whatever you call it. You're wrong and we're right, and this is we're going to achieve immortality through becoming cyborgs or through like gene manipulation. I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about. Like
at least for the rich, at least for the rich, and then maybe everybody else.
No, but but that's totally true. I mean, it's obviously going to be for the rich. But you and I realize. I can't talk so bad about the wealthy lately. Since I found out that I'm the 1%. Like if you take that, how they always talk about like the 1% in the U.S. Yeah. But on a global scale, you and I are the 1%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yes. I said something. If you have money in your wallet and money in your bank account, you're in like the top 2% or something like that, or top.
Isn't that incredible? Oh man, that's a whole different thing. Obviously. Sad. Yeah.
But I don't really know how sad it is, quite frankly. But it's weird. But to go back to what you're thinking, I think that's totally true. This fear of death and everything. And the one thing I heard that was like, it really blew my, I was just like, oh yeah, was, because we worry about like not existing. Right. And it's just, what is that going to be like? It's just not existing. And the person was, and I can't remember where I read this, but it's like, before you were born, like you didn't exist. Like you weren't around. Like you didn't have any thoughts or anything. And I'm like, oh yeah. It's like I had never really thought about that. And so that actually made me feel better on some level. Like, but it is true. Like you start thinking about your own demise or not existing. I start to panic. It's just so weird. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, this whole idea of just not having thoughts and not being a person, but also the idea of immortality wears me out. Oh my God, that would be so tiring just to be alive forever kind of thing. Yeah. Like if there is a heaven and you're there forever, like infinity, like what does that mean? And that really boggles my mind. So
when I was a kid, that was one of the things that bothered me. I was like, you mean you would go on forever and ever and ever? Like I just couldn't, I would question that even as like an 8-year-old kid. I was like, I don't know. That sounds weird. I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
But and go ahead.
No, but it's just I find all this stuff it's such a deep well, and like I was telling you, I was reading this. I'm still reading it. It's these 7 brief lessons in physics. Mm-hmm. It's like 88 pages. Super. And the guy, he's an Italian physicist. Super easy, like to understand. Like he does an excellent job of explaining stuff. And one of the things was like showing that picture. Have you seen that picture of the Hubble telescope? Like it's just a small rectangle and like all these dots are in it. And those are they're all galaxies. Like they're all galaxies like ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a small area of the screen. And it's billions of billions. And they're like, well, so this means that there's billions of billions of billions of suns just like ours. And I was like, oh, John, my God. Like it's just in this little square or this little rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives you just, so then I'm like, I was like, and then they were talking about how some people do think, because I thought this theory had gone away, but that maybe the Big Bang was the universe collapsing in on itself, because because stars, when they die, they collapse in and become using the same weight and then down to an atom and then explode. And they're like, well, that could have been the universe. And so then if that's the universe, like if that's the Big Bang, then how long have we been doing this whole thing? It's just this expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. Because this probably isn't the first time that we've been on this merry-go-round. But then like, is all of that stuff, like that's always been my thought, is like, is all of that stuff like heaven? Like, is that just where you go? Like, do we just kind of transport ourselves along all these different worlds, or I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it's just an interesting thing. But then to think that we're the only type of beings around is really ludicrous too. So I don't know. It's all just so immense to kind of think about how little and how unimportant you are in really in the big scheme of things on a meta level.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and then you think about all that. And like this week when I was on that trip, I heard the fighter jets get flying over, and I was totally terrified because I was like, man, the war's about to start. But they were just doing exercises,
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, think about these two guys that could start World War III. One is the leader of the U.S., one is the leader of North Korea, and think of how terrible humans they are.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't think like that, but.
Or their actions, at least what they represent themselves. We can judge, right? We can judge actions.
Well, I'm just mean terrible in the sense of what they find important and how they judge value and what they could drag us all into. Okay, so I'm having that thought, and then I'm on this trip with the most wealthy kids in Korea, because I mean our school is the most expensive school in Korea, as I understand it. So you have to assume that you have some of the most powerful families in Korea, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you see these kids on this outdoor ed trip, they're not bad people, but you're just like, it's terrifying. I'm like, they're going to control this country, just like those kids in Colombia are. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God, these are the people that run the world, and they are totally disconnected from reality. They have no clue what it's like to want for anything, or like it's scary.
Or have a relationship with nature.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you can so clearly see why we have the problems that we have.
Yeah.
Like when you think about the people who maybe who are in control and have power, like that they don't have you can't possibly have hiked and camped and loved nature and then run a business in which without a doubt that you are contaminating the world. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't think there's a chance you could do that, like as being a human being with those experiences. Right. Yeah. So it's just so that's why that forcing kids to do that, at least, it'll be in there. They'll be like, wait, I remember that time I was camped for all that time. Like, why are we just, so that has to be like a powerful thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just so heavy.
But I wanted to say this too, like these existential things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Man, yes, we should be having that conversation, because what's the point? I mean, I hate to take it back to education again, but it's
do it.
If you're not thinking about this, you're failing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like people are like, oh, we got to make them good citizens in a democracy. I mean, that's kind of important, but it's like, do you so many adults? And again, I'm not saying I'm not one of these adults. I'm saying I'm myself in with that group, but we're totally unconscious. Like we are wise fools, and we think we're leading these kids. And that's why I try to tie everything into, all right, love is my focus. Love in the what's the Greek word? I don't know, but anyway, like in a brotherly love, you know what I mean? Like sacrifice, and in a Christian sense of love, like love is eternal, like love is universal. Say it like that, like it exists in world religions, and that's what I'm trying to do. And it happens more in my actions than in the actual lessons I teach. And that has to be like in my philosophy, that's number one, because that is going to make the biggest difference, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because think of these massive existential things we're talking about. Like if you're not thinking it, like, what are you doing? Like, are you really conscious as a teacher? You've got 100, like we've got this factory system, which we probably don't agree with, but because of that factory system, you've got 100 kids pumped through, at least once they start changing classes on a daily basis. And you have the opportunity to plant so many seeds so fast, and they're not gonna find fertile ground in everybody.
Right. But if it's repeated, I almost think that you have a much better chance, right? You know,
I think so. And I have these conversations that are probably totally inappropriate for a grade 8 kid, or maybe they're not. Maybe if we were like a tribal culture still, the kids would just be sitting around with you and I talking because we're the adults, and they would be hearing this. And
exactly.
they would, yeah.
I think there's some power to that. Oh God, we're totally on the wrong track.
What do you think? Like, why?
No, society. I was just being. This is just.
Well, I know, but okay, society.
Just with everything. Just with everything. And like you said like no wisdom and stuff, and that's just isn't that just so true of leaders like in our world? Like they don't show wisdom. It's just like who do you look around and go, wow, that's a really wise leader we have there.
I'll tell you one. I can name one.
Oh, okay, nice. Who is?
Do you know the guy Mujica? Or maybe it's not Mujica. That might be the guy from Bogota. I can't remember. He was the president in Uruguay. Did you know this?
No.
Pepe? Oh, man, that guy, like, he's just – and I have a guy from Uruguay in my class. He's a funny kid. He's like, that guy's an idiot. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you hear this guy talk, and you're just like, wow, a philosopher was elected a president in some country. Yeah. How incredible. I mean, you know, he just – I don't know. I'll send you a clip after we get off of here. I think you find it. You'll get the idea of what I'm saying. But
I will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like in our USA mythology, we're taught to believe that the founding fathers were like statesmen and like thinkers, and maybe they were, or maybe it's just a lie because that's the founding myth of our country.
Right.
Because in the present day, I'm like, what kind of person wants to be a leader? It's almost like the people who seek that are the lowest. Like the most ego. Let's say it this way: the most ego-driven people.
Oh, for sure, they're megalomaniacs, right? Aren't they on some level?
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's. Yeah, go ahead, though. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, I have no idea. I think that's true, but then I see some guys. I see some people in education who seek leadership positions, and I'm like, wow, those people are good at what they do. I'm glad they are leaders. You know.
Yeah.
It just. Yeah. I don't know, but I don't see that very often in politics.
Yeah, I was meaning public leaders. I wasn't meaning like leaders in general. But yeah, no, I don't. I've always viewed the politics as I don't know. Like you get the sense that before, but I don't think that is. I think politics has always been awful. Like I just think it's kind of the lowest of the low kind of happened. I don't know, like people wise, I don't want to like paint with a broad brush. But I always thought it was at some point in my life, I was like, man, I would love to start like an organization that the only purpose, it didn't have any ideology. It just was like, let's find some good humans who want to serve in politics. But then you think about it, it might just be like politics corrupts. Absolutely. You know, and some level can't withstand the experience of politics and be pure. You know what I mean? So maybe there's something to that. I hadn't really thought about that. Like my favorite movie is not of all time, but Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. I love that movie. Like,
I don't even know it.
Never seen it?
No.
You should watch that immediately.
Immediately. I'm gonna Google. I'm gonna write it down actually.
It's Jimmy Stewart, and he's a very. It's probably awful now. No, I haven't watched it in so long. But he's this ideologue. You know, he just believes in America. And he somehow gets to go to Washington as a senator, I think, or a congressman, and is just overwhelmed with how bad it is. And this is the 30s, I think, or 40s, and just the corruption and awfulness. And he's the one shining soul that
Soy José Mujica, campesino para ganarme la vida, transformar el mundo. Tuvimos tiempo o no logran nada. Esto no es una apología de la pobreza, esto es una apología de la sobriedad. Pero como hemos inventado una sociedad de consumo, consumista, la economía tiene que crecer, porque si no crece es una tragedia. Inventamos una montaña de consumo superfluo y hay que tirar y vivir comprando y tirando. Y lo que estamos gastando es tiempo de vida. Porque cuando yo compro algo, o tú, no lo compras con plata. Lo compras con el tiempo de vida que tuviste que gastar para tener esa plata. Pero con esta diferencia. La única cosa que no se puede comprar es la vida. La vida se gasta. Y es miserable gastar la vida para perder libertad. Como nosotros somos un país chico, el presidente no tiene un avión presidencial. Y nos habían planteado mucho, ¿no? Nosotros decidimos comprar en Francia un helicóptero muy caro, que tiene una sala de cirugía y una cantidad de servicios para ponerlo en el medio del país. En lugar de comprar un avión presidencial, compramos un helicóptero porque eso va a servir instalado en el medio del país para salvarle la vida a gente en los accidentes y tener un servicio permanente que pueda socorrer rápido. Esta cosa tan simple, ¿eh? Ver el dilema. ¿Compro un avión presidencial o compro un helicóptero para salvar vida? Esa es la constante. Me parece que la sobriedad tiene que ver con estas cosas. Yo no estoy planteando volver a las cavernas o tener que vivir abajo de techos de paja. No estoy planteando eso. No es eso. Lo que estoy planteando de darle la espalda al mundo del despilfarro y de los gastos inútiles y de las casas impresionantes que necesitan después 3, 4, 5, media docena de sirvientes. ¿Para qué todo eso? ¿Para qué? No se precisa. Se puede vivir con mucho más sobriedad.